Hello, Desperado 2022. My name is Ben Cahlamer. I'm a local film critic in Phoenix with the Movie Revue. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Paradise Valley Community College, my phone's in the frame, and the Maricopa Community College District for supporting our festival. Also, thank you to Phoenix Pride and Ion AZ magazine for helping us celebrate the beauty of LGBTQ plus filmmaking. And at the risk of sounding repetitive over the interviews that I've conducted, there is inherent beauty in where butterflies don't fly. A Czech film that is centered on LGBTQ themes. It's a very universal film. I am joined today by one of the actors and one of the directors of cinematography from the film. Gentlemen, would you mind introducing yourselves?
So I will start if I can. My name is Jakub Krejča. Sounds exotic, it isn't. It's something like Jacob Taylor in your language. I'm doing acting for a really long time. I started with the theater, and in the end I ended up by film because camera likes me a little bit better. I don't know why. And it's actually not my first movie with Roman Němec, with our director. It's already the second one, so the cooperation was like kind of really easy going. It was more like family-like. I already knew everybody in the crew, so it was like really nice to do. Like when I take a part like this movie, I'm usually doing like a series for German television because I'm bilingual, like German, Czech. So usually I'm playing bad guys, like Nazis, you can say, typical German soldier. Or I am playing a funny, like fluffy, like gay guys, which is this case. So I just really enjoy this part.
Wonderful performance. Please.
Hello, good morning. My name is Vojtěch Hrnčíř. I'm one of the cinematographers for a movie Where Butterflies Don't Fly. I'm currently 22 years old and I study cinematography at one of Czech universities. It was my first feature film and first cooperation with director of the movie, Roman Němec. So yeah, a lot of first times. And yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, please. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I was just gonna say that it was just great experience.
One of the things that struck me in the movie is that on screen, the cast seemed very comfortable with each other. For a good portion of the film, though, your character, Jakub, is apart from your partner. But the scenes that we get earlier in the film and later in the film seemed very natural. Can you talk a little bit more about how you went ahead to prepare for this particular role, knowing your castmates and being a part of that troupe?
You know, like we met for the first time in 2017 with that particular cast, and during that time, you can imagine like a long-term friendship did happen. So that's maybe why we look so familiar. We did met also on different kind of sets or theaters, stuff like that. So we know each other. I know Daniel, which is playing the lead character, and I know also Vojtěch. So that's maybe why it looks so familiar, because it is actually. How I did prepare, honestly, like this is one of the role where I play myself. So what you will see there is actually me at home. I will let you judge you if it's nice or not. You can be the judge of that. But I didn't actually have to prepare so much. The good thing was that Roman is really particular about what he wants, and he always like put it into the script, and he communicates it with you. So it's really easy to work with him because you have like the clear like borders what he wants, but he still managed to somehow apply you on your characteristic. So it's really easy to work with him.
One of the things that struck me is that you're a very grounded individual, and as you just mentioned, that comes through in your performance. You seem like a very happy individual, a very vivacious individual, full of vitality. And even though you might have had your character was in a smaller part of the film, your presence is still felt throughout the film, especially as characters traverse into the cave. Doubts arise about whether things should happen, and that was a very structured and nuanced part of the film that I very much appreciated. One of the other things that caught my attention for we as American audiences, as we watch foreign films or films in foreign languages, the visual style becomes much more important. A, because we might not necessarily be familiar with the language the film is in, but B, we are drawn more toward the character dynamics and the imaging that the cinematography department handles. And I want to say, forgive me, I'm going to mispronounce this. Vojtěch?
Yeah, Vojtěch, yeah.
Okay. As a first-time cinematographer, I want to congratulate you on the look of the film, because it's a very controlled environment when you're in a cave. It was more open when you're outdoors, but you have a really good eye for capturing subjects, and I really appreciated that attention to detail.
Thank you very much. I would just like to add that I'm only one of the cinematographers. There were two more, Karel Pobříslo and Petr Beňa, and it was like a team effort, I would say. So yeah, it was a pleasure to work with them because I've learned so much from them, and yeah, we've kind of cooperated to achieve this kind of look the movie has.
And I noticed that there were 3 cinematographers assigned to the film, and it must have been difficult to shoot the scenes that, well, actually, let me ask a question. Were you assigned to shoot specific scenes in the film that we see in the final film, or was it a collaborative effort all the way through?
Mostly it was collaborative effort, but yeah, there were days where only one of us was on the set because the other ones weren't available or just another reasons. But yeah, mostly it was that. It was all of us being on set.
Were there any particular scenes that are in the final film that you can talk about where you were alone as a cinematographer?
As for me, I ended up with shooting the extreme ones in like extreme conditions. So, for example, when Adam fell underwater into the cave, yeah, we shot that. It took, I think, like 5 hours to shoot it, and it was my first time scuba diving. So. Apart from shooting underwater, it was another challenge that I had to like overcome. And then, for example, when there's this climbing course in the beginning of the movie, yeah, that's also something that I shot myself when we were climbing the mountains. And then some of these scenes in the caves, for example, in the tunnels, where you really couldn't. There were places where you really couldn't move with anything because it was so narrow, and you could only move forward by moving your toes, and that was the only way you could move forward. So, yeah, and yeah, so that's it.
I imagine that when you are inside of a cave like that, where there is no natural light, lighting becomes very critical, in part because of digital cinema, but also in part because you want to capture the subjects as best as you can, and as they say, in the right light. And how difficult was it for you on this film, whether alone or with the cinematography team, how difficult was it for you to be able to judge how much light was needed so that it didn't overpower a scene or take away from the detail?
Well, as for the lighting, it was the main challenge was that we couldn't bring like the usual lights you would use on set because of the extreme condition, because there was cold, there was moisture everywhere, and little particles of dust that would destroy these lights. So we could only use LED lights, but only the LED lights that aren't that expensive to change or repair or buy new ones, because in these conditions those lights would get destroyed a lot. So we only got to use these like cheaper LED lights, and that was the biggest challenge because those sources are not as powerful as the usual ones, so we had to improvise a lot. But I think that it turned out quite good.
As I said, I was impressed. By and large, we, the audience, spend a good 50 to 60% of the movie inside that cave. And the other aspect that I alluded to a moment ago is that you only have two subjects, and there's a lot of action that happens on the set. But there are also a lot of still moments where we are thinking about Jakub's character and his influence on the main character. Forgive me, it's midnight here, and I've forgotten some of the smaller details, such as character names. I apologize. But there are a lot of still moments in the various sequences. Were there any logistical challenges with shooting the more still sequences where the characters aren't moving about necessarily within the frame, or from left to right or right to left, but might be moving around on the ground in a sleeping bag? This is an LGBTQ audience, of course, so I have to bring that up. But the more intimate scenes, were there any logistical challenges with shooting that?
As for these static scenes, it wasn't that big of a challenge because we've shot them all at not at once, but at like few days apart, and it wasn't that difficult because we've usually had just one lighting setup, and because the actors were in a sleeping bags, they weren't cold. So that was another advantage of it. It was more difficult with the moving scenes where there was a motion, because we had to light the scenes with we had to light like a big part of a set,
Mhm.
and we've tried to stay as natural as possible, so it would look so it would reflect the conditions that are in caves and the lack of light that there is.
Well, a job well done. One final question with specific reference to the cinematography. And Jakub, I'll ask a follow-up question similarly. What kind of specific direction did you receive from Roman in terms of preparing for the shoot? Were there storyboards involved, or were a lot of decisions made on set that might have affected what you had planned versus what we actually see on the screen?
Well, as for this type of cooperation with Roman, it was great because he had storyboards for everything, and he precisely knew what he wanted, and we've put a lot of time to preparation. So when we came to set, we've known exactly what to do. But sometimes there were moments where we had to improvise because, for example, the lights wouldn't be able to use them as we intended. So we had to improvise a few times, but most of the time everything was really well prepared, and yeah.
Right. Jakub, a similar question. You, as I've mentioned, you bookend the movie, really, but your presence is felt all throughout. You're there at the beginning. There's a very comfortable relationship between the two of you in your flat. And then you appear again without giving away any of the movie's secrets in case somebody watches this before they see the movie. You appear at the end again. And then for audiences who haven't seen this, there's a post-credit sequence, which I thought was really beautiful because it symbolized all of the visual markers that make up the film, the struggles of the LGBTQ community, I imagine in the Czech Republic just as much as globally. This is a very universal film. How did your approach change at all from the beginning of the film to the end of the film in terms of how you approach the character, or was it more that the scene allowed you to play a variety of different sides of yourself?
You know, it's like, for me, it's kind of a personal theme because, as I said, what I did play there was something what is like really me, and I'd go through something really similar. I think we as a LGBTQ community, we know that there are some situations where you, so to say, don't exist as partners. There are some communities where you don't tell it, or there are even some relationships which are like taking ages. They are for age together, and like in the public they don't exist, so to say. So that's something what happened to me recently, and I did have like this breakthrough, which you will see in the movie as well. So it was like really personal, and I think like since the 2017 the character that developed also because of this, because the relationship, like my relationships, is taking place like almost since that time, and it did go through the same dynamic. But yeah, what I wanted to say maybe like when we were talking about cinematography and Roman and like like this particular scenes, like he is really particular about like what he wants in the movie, and what he wants he gets, so to say. But sometimes you have like a small surprise, like for example, we did shoot a scene, and like then in the script was like David is driving a car, and I was like, wait, David, that's me. And he was like, yes. And I was like, I don't have a driving license. And it was like a day before, you know, and it was actually like few days after we shoot like the bed scene like together. So it was already like way too much to process for me, and he was like, yeah, you have to learn to drive. And it was like, until tomorrow. And he was like, yes, let's go to let's go here. It's like a big place. Like, let's go there and let's teach you drive. So actually, there were like some kind of specific which you will see in the movie, and it's, for me, it's almost like a fantasy movie, you know, because I'm driving the car there and I'm really driving it, and you have this big camera in front of you, and you are still trying to play the character and be emotional, you know, but
Yeah.
you don't want to kill anybody in the car because you have like 5 people in the car hidden there. So yeah, the character, back to your question, did evolve a lot, and I love the scene which is coming after credits. I love it. First of all, it feels a little bit like you know, like these Hollywood movies which always have like the scene after the script, like, wait, you have to read all the names which were part of the movie, and then you will get something sweet. So I love that scene, and it was like really personal for me to shoot it as well.
That's awesome. You know, I'm what you would call a credit snob. I will sit through all of the credits at the end of the movie, because without both sides of the camera, a figure of speech, of course, but without both sides of the talent on both sides of the camera, we wouldn't have the movies that we have today, the stories that need to be told, the experiences that need to be shared. And that's one of the things that I love about Desperado and about film festivals in general, is that audiences get a unique opportunity to visit, for us, far off places that we might not otherwise be able to travel to, and experience other parts of the world and the lives that people live. And you know, this movie, again, is far more visual than it is dialogue driven. It's very heavy on character. Those characters are very rich. And yes, the post-credit sequence, which I'm glad I stuck through the credits, and I could figure out some of the credits, but I don't know Czech. So that was kind of a stretch for me, but I could figure it out fairly well. But after the credits rolled, seeing that end sequence, it made me very happy, because what I imagine that scene representing is not everybody, is not only everybody being able to come together and celebrate the movie, but it's also, I guess, at the risk of repeating myself, it's a celebration of the joy that is inherent in the journey that all of the characters take, and all of the technicians and craftspeople took to make the movie. And even though I haven't had the opportunity to meet Roman, his presence was felt throughout the film, but especially in that end sequence, the post-credit sequence, because it felt like this was a difficult shoot, and it was really a celebration. And I appreciated that. I'm droning on here. And you could tell that all of you as actors were really, really relaxed, and I think appreciated the opportunity to be able to give this movie to the world and allow us to share in that celebration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I would like to thank you both. Actually, before I do that, Jakub, you were talking a little earlier about getting into character, it being as much a reflection of yourself as the character that we see on the screen. Did you have a scene that you did, other than the post-credit sequence, that you felt was a really genuine moment between you and the lead character in the film?
Honestly, like, there are 2 of them. The first scene which I loved was like the scene where they are like just themselves at home and it's kind of like chilled. That's something like I think everybody wants to have some partner where you can like just relax yourself. And that's a scene I loved to do because it was like kind of like chilled afternoon, you know, it was easy to shoot. We did enjoy that, we did laugh a bit, and it was like natural. Somebody said that my butt looks great there in the scene, so why not? But but then what I really enjoyed and what was like really funny and was almost like an exercise for me was like the bat scene which we have with Wojciech, because you know they look great on the screen, but shooting them, it's almost like a choreography. It's almost like a sword fighting in the way you have to like really learn choreography that the camera doesn't see some flies or something what shouldn't be there. So that was actually what I did enjoy on another level because it was so technical and so funny in the end that scene took like almost a half a day. So those are like two scenes which I really liked to shoot. I did hate the scene in the car. I was afraid that I will kill somebody.
Well, your driving skills are very adept, and you survived, and we survived. It's a miracle that they got that they got to the camp. But you know, I couldn't feel your nerves as an actor driving for the first time, and you handle it like a pro.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
If you need to drive, just call me, you know, like I'm here for you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Thank you. A public service message. One of the other things that caught my attention, and I was just thinking about this, was when you had to repack his backpack with everything because he couldn't fit everything in. And it just struck me that packing for a trip like that, you have to be very organized. And David comes across as being organized, but perhaps more rigid, and he needed your character to help with the details. And I just appreciated that because that to me signifies love, compassion, understanding. There's probably a little, oh, just give me the bag, I'll get it organized for you and send you on your way. But I just love that particular sequence of unpacking and repacking because those are the types of details that make the movie what it is and make the movie special and unique.
I think that's something what is in every relationship special, that the couple have something together. One is like a little bit different than the other one, and then kind of it fills in. And that's what it was, that scene. Like,
yep. Well, I want to thank you both very much for your time. I know you have both have busy schedules. Again, thank you for your flexibility. I really enjoyed the movie. I can't wait for audiences to see it, and for us to be able to share your movie with audiences here. Do either of you have any parting words to share with our audience?
So guys, enjoy it. If you are claustrophobic, take some pills, but enjoy it. It was really fun to shoot it.
Well, as for me, I would like to thank you for having us here and at the festival, and I hope you will enjoy the movie.
Thank you both very much. I enjoyed the conversation, and again, I look forward to sharing this movie with audiences here. Thank you again.